I decided that I was going to tell him that I wanted a divorce. I texted my therapist, our marriage counselor, and I was like, I need to tell him that I want a divorce, but I want to do it in a session so that there's like a mediator present. Got us in like ASAP, like 2 days later. And I walked in knowing that I was going to ask for a divorce. We sit down in our session. It's like really tense, really awkward. My ex was sitting there like, so why do we have an emergency session? Therapist was like, Jamie, do you want to start? And I just started crying and I was like, I want a divorce. You know, it's hard for me to like say the words. I'm done. I want a divorce. He sat there quiet. I'm sitting next to him crying. He didn't move. He didn't look at me. He didn't react at all. He just was stone cold. And eventually our therapist was like, would you like to respond? He responded right away and he's like, fine, let's just go ahead and finalize the details. And that was that. I looked at my therapist and I was just like kind of stunned. I knew that I was ready to leave, but I couldn't believe that that was his reaction. There was no empathy. There was no compassion. There was no like wanting to fight for us. I didn't think that there would be, but you know, you just always hope that like one last try. We went home that night. We didn't speak. He slept on the couch. I woke up and went to work the next day, came home. He was playing PlayStation that night. I sat next to him. We hadn't talked in 24 hours. I said, can we talk about what happened yesterday? And he was just playing, just looking straight ahead. And he was like, what's to talk about? In my mind, I'm thinking, this is our last ditch effort to like steer this ship around, you know? And I was like, so what are we gonna do? And he just kept playing and he was like, I already got an apartment. I already took my name off of the lease. He had done things within that 24 hours. He had opened up the filing folder of his single man life and went ahead and got all this shit done.
I have like $1,000 to my name. I recently had to let my daughter, who's 10 years old, go live with her dad because I'm so chronically poor. And the police are now impounding my vehicle. This cop was behind me. I'm sorry, this cop was in front of me the whole way down the part of the mountain that we were driving, brake checking me. Then he pulled over because he was going super slow. And I thought he was just being nice, like, you know, he was going under the speed limit. He comes right back behind me, pulls me over instantly, and I only had my window rolled down about that much. And then the next cop, black cop, he pulls up and he's like, what's going on to him? And then he goes, the first cop says, oh, it's one of those. Whatever the fuck that means.
Bill wags in that, Brendan. Okay, I'm good.
Please, somebody help me. I don't know what to do. I'm a single mom doing her very best. Oh my God. I'm 655 days sober. I had to give my daughter up to her dad because I was so poor, so chronically poor. I quit OF in November because that does not align with me and it does not let me have the dignity that I deserve. I've been cleaning houses freelance for the last couple weeks to make money. My car was impounded by the police yesterday. So you know there's a ton of other errands you have to do to take care of everything before you can get the vehicle, which if it's there just a couple more days, it'll be over $1,000 that I owe. That doesn't include the fees to the police. And then just now, my ex-husband's lawyer just called saying that there's a hearing for custody of my daughter, and I don't know what any of it means. Please, someone help me.
Man, that clip hits hard, doesn't it? You can almost feel the desperation in her voice, the kind that comes from realizing the world isn't as forgiving as you once thought. You can hear the panic, the confusion, the exhaustion, and for a second, your heart almost breaks for her, because it sounds like a woman who's drowning, asking for help, asking for mercy, asking for a way out. But then, the other voice comes in, that cold, detached one that says, she brought this on herself. And suddenly, the mood shifts, the empathy fades, the judgment enters, and we're left standing somewhere in between compassion and consequence, between understanding and accountability. Let's be honest, most people won't admit it, but this video feels like a mirror. Not because we've all done what she's done, but because deep down, we all fear ending up like her. Broke, alone, crying into a camera, realizing we messed up too late. But how does someone even get here? How do you go from being a wife, a mom, a family, to being a single woman fighting to get your car out of impound, crying for help online? It starts with a story that's been sold to millions. You can have it all. You can do whatever you want. You don't need anyone. That's the slogan of our age. independence without responsibility, freedom without structure, pleasure without price. And for a while it feels true, until the bill shows up. See, when she says she quit OnlyFans because it didn't align with her dignity, that line right there, that's the sound of awakening. That's the sound of someone realizing that the thing they thought would give them power actually took something from them instead. And you can almost sense the grief in it. Because she's not just broke financially, she's broke spiritually. She thought freedom was about doing whatever she wanted. But real freedom, it's the ability to live without being owned by attention, by money, by validation. And that's the kind of freedom the internet never gives. Let's rewind for a second. Imagine this. She's married. She's got stability. Maybe things were boring. Maybe he wasn't perfect. Maybe life felt too small. And then one day she looks around at social media, at all these women talking about empowerment, self-love, and independence, and she starts thinking, maybe I could do more. Maybe I could be more. And maybe she could. But the path she chose, it wasn't empowerment. It was exposure. See, exposure gives you attention, but not affection. It gives you validation, but not value. It gives you followers, but not friends. And what's crazy, it doesn't even give you freedom, because now you're trapped, not by a man, but by an algorithm. You become a product in a marketplace of endless faces, endless bodies, endless competition. And when she says she's been cleaning houses now to make money, that's the part that stings, because it's like reality came knocking and said, the fantasy is over. Time to pay rent. That's the part people don't talk about. That even when the money from OnlyFans dries up, the reputation doesn't. The internet never forgets. You can delete the account, but not the digital footprint. And suddenly, every job interview, every social interaction, every first impression, it all comes with a shadow. But the part that really breaks you is when she says she had to give her daughter up. That's not a social media story anymore. That's real life. That's a human being at the edge of collapse. That's a mother realizing that empowerment means nothing when you can't feed your child. And then comes the cop scene. The car impounded, the mountain road, the frustration, the helplessness. It's like the universe itself turned against her. But really it didn't. It's just that when your life's been in chaos long enough, even ordinary things start to feel like punishment. And that's the thing about choices. You don't always feel the weight when you make them. You feel it later when you're alone and the noise dies down. When the likes stop, the audience moves on, and it's just you and your decisions staring each other down. Now, when that guy at the end says, never believe a woman when she cries in public, I get it. The internet has made everyone cynical. We've seen too many fake breakdowns, too many manipulative sob stories. But sometimes what looks like manipulation is just regret. And regret isn't glamorous. It's not a performance. It's an ugly, desperate thing. The truth is, two things can be true at once. Yes, she made her bed. And yes, it's still tragic watching her lie in it. That's life. It's messy. It's full of contradictions. But here's the part no one talks about. The reason these stories go viral isn't because people love to hate her. It's because deep down, they fear becoming her. They fear chasing validation and losing everything that mattered. They fear trading love for attention, stability for chaos, peace for excitement, and end up with nothing. That's why these videos hit so hard, because they remind us what happens when you follow the world's advice instead of your own wisdom. So yeah, maybe the guy at the end was right in one sense. Maybe she did bring this on herself, but so do a lot of us. Every time we chase something shiny and call it success. Every time we destroy something good because it didn't feel exciting enough. Every time we let ego steer the wheel and call it destiny. The saddest part is she's 655 days sober. That means she fought hard to climb out of one hole only to fall into another. That's not evil. That's human. That's what happens when pain gets confused for purpose. You can hear it in her voice, that mix of pride and panic. She's trying to sound strong, but it's breaking through. Because strength isn't about never falling. It's about admitting you did and finding the will to stand up again. And maybe that's the one thing she still has, a tiny spark of humility that might save her if she learns from it. Because the truth is, life doesn't punish, it teaches. And some lessons come in dress as loss. The world saw her a dream. You can be anything. But it didn't tell her the fine print. You'll pay for everything. And now she's paying. Not just in dollars, but in peace, in dignity, in motherhood, in self-respect. But before anyone points fingers, remember, we all make deals with the devil in some form. Some sell their body, some sell their time, some sell their integrity, some sell their silence. Everyone's trading something. The question is, what are you selling? And is it worth the price? Because what she's showing us is a cautionary tale. A life built on emotion, not discipline. On validation, not values. On escape, not endurance. She thought the world would applaud her freedom. Instead, it watched her fall and filmed it. That's the tragedy of the modern age. Even our breakdowns become content. So yeah, maybe she brought this on herself. But if you listen closely, her story is also a warning, a message to anyone chasing quick success or online fame, a whisper saying, don't lose yourself trying to find yourself. Because when the camera stops recording, when the followers stop caring, when the lights turn off, you'll be left with silence. And silence has a way of making you face who you really are. And maybe, just maybe, that's where redemption begins. Not in pity, not in applause, but in honesty. The brutal kind that hurts before it heals. So the next time you scroll past someone crying online, don't just judge. Don't just sympathize. Listen. Because in their story, you might hear the echo of your own. And if you're lucky, you'll learn from it before life makes you live it.